must first acknowledge the giants on whose shoulders I stand. To the ancestors who have illuminated my path, to my friends, family, and mentors who have loved me, challenged me, and forgiven me, and have truly held up my world. With gratitude always. I spent a good portion of my life touring with a band as a singer, traveling the country in a van with a trailer. I preferred to enjoy the amenities of our big, beautiful brown chariot to driving it. But every now and then, when we had long stretches of road in between each city, we'd have to alternate drivers. I dreaded when it was my turn to drive the van. I did almost everything I could to not have to drive it. But it was inevitable. I made every single excuse to not have to drive that van, but I couldn't exactly call in sick to work to avoid driving it. So I did what I had to do. You see, the van was very difficult to maneuver when the trailer was attached. You couldn't drive it like a normal vehicle. You had to accommodate for the trailer when on inclines and declines in terrain, which made it difficult to accelerate and slow down, especially in mountains. Mountains. I'm going to talk about the difficulty in visualizing your dreams as mountains, the nightmares and the valleys in life, and how to overcome your obstacles through your community and by remembering who you are. My band booked our first tour in cities all across the country, in states I never imagined I would see. I'd never really been out of Texas much as a kid. I'd been to Georgia and Florida, but as an adult, forging out on my own with 4 of my closest friends, the only thing that I could think of was, I wonder if there'll be mountains. Again, I didn't really see mountains growing up as a kid. Surfside Beach was about as grand as it got with regards to wondrous scenery. I'd see the occasional porpoise every now and then, but nothing as exciting as seeing huge mountains like I'd seen on TV and in films. I remember watching The Sound of Music in music class, and I wondered if I'd ever be able to get up and twirl around like Julie Andrews, singing at the top of her lungs, expressing her love for mountains. My song would be different. My story is different. There were personal mountains that I would have to face, and I didn't necessarily know how I would face them. My bandmates and I fought like siblings sometimes. Sometimes we'd fight so much that it would result in silent treatment. And I would sit in my room for hours with the door wide open, and we'd walk past each other and not say a thing. That silence imprisoned me. The isolation was this invisible force field that prevented me from stepping outside and talking to my brothers. I developed this condition. It's a serious condition that people often get. It mutates from fear. It's called pride. Sometimes we'd fight so much and be so prideful that we didn't know how to step outside our differences and talk to each other as brothers. That pride turned to resentment, and in me, something much darker. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety, PTSD, and mild depression. But I thought that going on tour would help me to escape those thoughts. Well, so I thought. On one of our tour stops, we stopped at a gas station to fill up the van. Everyone got out of the van and went into the store except for me and my bass player. When I looked out into the horizon, I saw these things. The fog obstructed my view. I didn't exactly know what I was seeing. I asked my buddy, What are those things over there? He took a long drag of his cigarette, and I can remember him blowing out this white smoke that looked like ornate filigree, and it was kind of framing what I was seeing. And he said, "Those are the Smoky Mountains, bud." I couldn't believe it. In over 20 years, I'd waited to see a mountain range, and I didn't know what I was seeing. They just didn't seem real to me. On the road with my bandmates, 5 20-something-year-old men, again, we fought a lot. I began to internalize some of those arguments. Those arguments kept me sometimes from seeing the things that I really needed to see. And I can almost remember when something got stuck internally. I'll paint a picture of it for you. Imagine Batman and Robin trapped in a room, preventing them from fighting crime in shiny, colorful spandex. And all of a sudden, a thick green plume of smoke fills the room. And Robin says something weird and super obvious, like, "Holy hamburger, Batman, it seems like we're trapped in this room with this thick green plume of smoke." And then a cackle comes over a speaker from the antagonist. "That should hold you while I escape." And then Batman says, "Robin, this thick green plume of smoke seems like poisonous gas." And they pass out, splayed out on the ground. Will Batman and Robin wake from their nauseous nap? Will Dustin get to the point in his story? Find out next time on The Depression. The room was the depression. That cackle was my inner thoughts. And Batman and Robin dressed up in colorful spandex. Well, I don't really know what that represents, or maybe I'm suppressing my desire to wear colorful spandex, but what I'm trying to say is that superheroism was never really the real winner in my battle against depression. We were in Nashville, Tennessee. We just finished a show. Great gig. A total of 3 people in the audience. We packed the van and we packed the trailer. And now it was time to determine who would drive the van. The only benefit to driving the van was that you could listen to your own music from your music library. It was my turn to drive the van. I got in the driver's seat, I put on my seatbelt, and I put my hands on the steering wheel, and I waited for someone to say, "Hey, Dustin, don't worry, man, I got that." But no one said a thing. The only thing that I could hear was the taunting from the crackle on the gravel as we pulled off out of the parking lot. It was a cold, wet, rainy night. We were heading home. And as we were driving, my bandmates to the right and to the behind me were having the time of their lives, and my hands tended to, eyes bucked. And as we were driving, I noticed that it was difficult to accelerate the van. I didn't exactly know what was going on. We hit a speed bump 3 times, the trailer. So as we're ascending, my buddy to the right of me tells me, "We're in the Appalachian Mountains." I looked out of his window briefly, and I could see what looked like black glass, obsidian, but I couldn't see any mountains. So as we're driving up the mountain, as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. And we start to go down the mountain. The rain was picking up. I could feel the trailer pushing me down the mountain. My hands are gripping the steering wheel. My buddies are having a great time laughing. Water is coming out of my eyes. I start crying, and I say to myself, "Well, we will surely die on this mountain, and it's going to be all my fault." Well, the good news is we survived that trip. I'm here. The bad news is I didn't get to see the Appalachian Mountains. Over the course of a few years, I would deal with my own personal mountains, the band breaking up, homelessness, personal heartbreak, hopelessness, that personal anxiety and depression, loss. I didn't exactly know that these were mountains because I really couldn't see them. And I didn't know how I was going to get over those mountains. I'll be honest with you, I was hoping that someone would teach me how to get over them or really just carry me over the mountains, but no one did. I graduated from Texas A&M University in 2016, 31 years old, and I started working at this amazing department with some of the people who would change my life. My supervisors became my mentors. They didn't force me to face my fears, but they challenged me to face my fears and overcome my obstacles by growing professionally, personally, and intellectually. In 2019, Dr. Suma Datta invited me to present with her at a research conference in Utah. Dr. Suma Datta was the executive director of the program at the time, is now a professor emeritus of biochemistry and biophysics. She asked me to present with her, and I will tell you, I didn't agree with her decision, but I obliged. I wasn't sure why a person of that stature would invite me to come and speak. Self-doubt began to rack my brain. I was the former college dropout working with high-achieving students. Every degrading word, I said to myself. We flew into Utah one May night, and I knew that there were mountains underneath me, but I couldn't see them because it was dark. I spiraled thinking about what I was going to say in that presentation. I was so unsure. Hours turned to minutes, minutes turned to seconds before I was to present. I couldn't sleep. Finally, I got some sleep. I woke up the next morning, and I knew that before I presented, I had to do something. I walked outside of the hotel. Cool breeze blew through, and I zipped up my jacket, and I started walking. I kept walking up and up and up, higher and higher. I began on this incline. But this time, there was no trailer behind me, no 20-something-year-old guys laughing and talking. It was just me. As I'm going up this incline, irrational fear starts to set in. I just knew that a mountain lion or bear was about to devour me, but it was just magpies everywhere, accompanying me on my journey up. I walked up a little bit higher, and I was surrounded by these green giants. When I realized what I was seeing, I began to cry, and my tears washed away the scales from my eyes. And I saw them for the very first time. I saw the mountains, those green mountains with the yellow sun peeking through. I stifled my tears for a bit to recognize what I was seeing and what I was believing. My mentor asked me to come and speak with her because she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Like a mama's boy, I called my mama and cried and told her what I was seeing. Sometimes it's hard to see your mountains because you don't recognize the valleys, those gutters in life, those low altitudes. But one thing I want to leave you with today is an acronym. We love acronyms at Texas A&M. It's CLIMB. The first letter, C. Find your community. Find people who have your best interest at heart, who want to see you succeed, who believe in you, who challenge you. The L, it may sound really basic, but it's sometimes, I think we might all agree that it's hard to do when you're facing precarious situations. Listen. Listen to people in your community. Listen to the good things you tell yourself. You are more than the bad things that you tell yourself, what people say about you. The I is for imagine. I always tell my students that before I graduated, I had to imagine myself walking across the stage. I had to imagine myself grabbing that degree. I had to imagine myself looking at that degree until the day it happened. The M is for mindfulness. It's a word that I'm sure we've all heard, but maybe we haven't practiced. Think about your goal. Think about your obstacle. Give it a shape. Give it a color. How is this obstacle preventing you from doing the things that you need to do in life? Is it preventing you from doing the things you need to do in life? And lastly, believe. You have to believe in yourself. When obstacles come your way, when there are mountains that you have to climb, when there's difficulty, there's fog in your life, you might tell yourself, I can't do this. but no one can achieve your goals for you but you. I owe so much to my mentors and the people who have held up my world. One of my dreams was to be a fish camp namesake at Texas A&M. It's all I thought about when I came back to school. And I'm thankful to Dr. Jonathan Kotinik, my executive director, Camp Kotinik, who nominated me this year. And because of him, there will be a Camp Kemp in the summer of 2025. I really get to do this, y'all. I get to bring people along with me climbing up that mountain. I get to encourage and inspire young minds, incoming freshmen, and to help them remember that their story isn't done. And I'm so fortunate. And I'm so, so very grateful. Sometimes it might be hard to see through that fog. And in those valleys where you feel like you can't do enough, when you feel like you want to give up, and you might cry in those valleys, and it might become a well, don't swim in your sorrow, but get stronger in those valleys. Now, a lot of times there are professionals who give these types of talks, experts in certain fields. That's not who I am. I'm someone who wants to walk with you, well, climb with you. And so, yes, there are going to be obstacles that get in your way. And yes, there are going to be challenges. But I'm walking with you. I'm going to shout with you when you come out of that valley. I'm thankful to Dr. Kotinik and Dr. Sumadada who have helped me and who have allowed me to be on their shoulders to climb up the mountain. I'm thankful for my mama and my daddy who taught me lessons in the valleys, who also picked me up out of those valleys. And so, yes, there may be mountains, but yes, you will climb them. So go and keep on going. Thank you.